my earliest memories go back to the early 80s. Watching my older half-brother wrench on what I believe was his first car, a 1970 Plymouth Fury with a 318 under the hood. Bell bottoms were flapping in the breeze, and wide rear tires stuck out past the fenders like they were trying to escape the car entirely. And if you didn't have an 8-track blaring something loud and funky, well, you were missing out. It was my brother who kept me close by, handing him tools and let me tinker while he worked. I didn't realize it then, but those moments stuck with me. That love for engines and grease became a part of me. Being poor meant you had to learn how to fix what you had, and fixing things with your own 2 hands was a point of pride. That's probably why my passion for working on cars never faded. It was built from necessity, love, and a whole lot of trial and error. After my parents' divorce, life shifted. A few years later, my grandparents bought me my first car, a tan 4-door 1970 Buick LeSabre with a 350 Olds rocket motor, best 200 mileage car I've ever known. It ran as long as I could afford the gas, and back then gas was a luxury. Still, that car gave me freedom. It taught me how to fix things when I had no choice. And it took me on some of the best rides of my young life. I worked whatever jobs I could find. At 15, I was detasseling corn just to scrape together enough cash for fuel and a burger. Most of the time, I was riding around with my best friend. We were practically brothers. Our families lived just a few miles apart, and we were each other's shadows. From martial arts classes to Wednesday night Bible study, we did everything together, and to this day, he's still been one of the biggest sources of strength I've had through everything I've faced. But my hands didn't just stay busy with wrenches. When I was 11, it was just my dad and me for a while to keep me active and learning. He signed me up for a computer class. It was simple back then, but man, something about it just made sense. I was hooked. That spark turned into something more during high school, where I had the opportunity to work afternoons as a student programmer at a local factory. Right after graduation, I landed a job at a factory in Milford. I was just 17, still green and dating someone. We ended up moving in together and had 2 beautiful daughters from that relationships. Life was moving fast, but I embraced it. Later, I met my first wife, and we shared a good marriage for a time. Life doesn't always play out like you hope, and eventually we went our separate ways. But in the middle of all that change, something special happened. I moved into a house right behind my father. That turned out to be a gift. I got hired with the same company he worked for, and that time together meant the world to me. We'd share coffee breaks, work side by side, and build something even more valuable than a paycheck. We built a real relationship. We talked shop, swapped old stories, and made up for lost time. He wasn't just my dad. He became my friend. A few years later, during our town's annual Fun Days event held around Father's Day, I went on a blind date that would change my life. I wasn't expecting anything serious, but that night, I met the woman I'd end up marrying, the one I'd spend the rest of my life with. At the time, I was still living behind my dad's house. Funny how life lines up when you least expect it. Eventually, I took a job at a Chrysler dealership as a certified AC mechanic. Turning wrenches wasn't just a hobby anymore, it was a career. Life was good. I had a family, my work, and a sense of pride in what I did. Not long after that, a position opened up with the town of Milford, and I was hired on. We moved into a small 2-bedroom house in Milford, just enough space to start this new chapter. My daughters were older by then, and visits came and went as they started making their own decisions, but I was proud of the life we were building. Later, we make it official, and we're married and making a life. Then one day, my wife surprised me. Turns out she'd spoken with the Milford volunteer fire chief behind my back in the best way. Since I was already involved with the fire department, they thought it'd be a great idea for me to take classes and become a volunteer.
EMT for the town. I wasn't too sure at first. Truth be told, I didn't like blood or trauma, but I took the class anyway. And to my surprise, I found myself fascinated. I was learning how the human body worked and how to help when things went wrong. I passed my MTB certification and joined the team. One opportunity led to another. The staff at our local hospital in Hoopeston reached out and asked if I'd be interested in working some extra shifts on their ambulance service. Next thing I knew, I was finishing my shift at the town, jumping into my truck and heading to Hoopeston Hospital to work. I'd finish up around midnight, crawl into bed, and do it all again when my alarm went off at 4:30 a.m. It was a grind, but it was a purpose, and at the time I felt unstoppable. It was just about a year later when I joined the auxiliary police department. Between that, my shifts as an EMT, working for the town and helping at the fire department, I honestly didn't know whether I was coming or going most days, but I just kept going. Then, as if life wasn't busy enough, I joined the security team at our local music theater, a place where big-name artists would roll through town to perform. It was our job to make sure they were protected and taken care of. And somehow, in the middle of everything else, I found myself standing backstage next to some of the best in the business. I had the privilege of working shows for Ralphie May, Buckcherry, Crystal Bowersox, Billy Bob Thornton, and plenty of other top-billed acts. It was surreal for a small-town guy. Those were unforgettable nights. I learned a lot about respect, humility, and the fact that no matter how famous someone gets, everyone wants to feel safe and supported. I look back now and see how full my life was. I was working for the town I loved, saving lives, making new friends, learning new skills, and even going back to school to become an EMTI, just a step below a paramedic. I was proud of what I was doing. I had built a life with meaning. At that point, everything felt steady, life was good. I had no reason to think a storm was coming.